It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. They have seen their land steadily devoured by settlements and plagued by violence, their economy stifled, their people displaced, and their homes demolished. Their hopes for a political solution to their plight have been vanishing.
That was the Secretary General for the entire UN, accusing Israel of oppressing Palestinians. The Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs fired back.
Mr. President, Minister of Foreign Affairs, members of the Security Council, as we meet here today, young babies, children are held in Gaza. This is beyond imagination, a living nightmare. Ofri, 10 years old, Avigail, 3 years old, Maya, 17 years old, Raz, 4 years old, Aviv, 2 years old, Ariel, 4 years old, Kfir, little Kfir, only 9 months, Yuval, 8 years old, Ofir, 17 years old. There are just a few of the many children and babies that have not seen evil. They have not caused evil, but they are victims of evil. These kids witness horror which cannot be described by words. Mr. Secretary General, in what world do you live? Definitely, this is not our world.
Now, the UN Secretary General did respond again, and he said, quote, "I am shocked by some misrepresentation of my comments as if I was justifying acts of terror by Hamas. This is false," he said, and it was the opposite. Brooke, what are your thoughts?
Listen, people like this UN official and also Queen Rania of Jordan are acting as Islamo-Nazi mouthpieces. They are justifying the genocide of the Jewish people. And we have been here before and we have seen this. And I can't tell you what it feels like to be a Jewish person, a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. And by the way, they're not just justifying it. The United Nations is working with Hamas to abuse Palestinian children. The United Nations Relief Works Agency, or UNRWA, operates schools. They have invited Hamas's youth wing, Al-Qutla al-Islamiyah, to recruit innocent Muslim children from the schools to operate as human shields, to operate as child soldiers, to operate as suicide homicide bombers. They're allowing their schools to be used as weapons depot. The United Nations is aiding and abetting and working with Hamas. They are the problem, and he absolutely has to go.
We have tape of Queen Rania, who denounced the West for standing with Israel. Watch.
In the last couple of weeks, we have seen, a glaring double standard in the world. When October 7th happened, the world immediately and unequivocally stood by Israel and its right to defend itself and condemned the attacks that happened. But what we're seeing the last couple of weeks, we're seeing silence in the world. Countries have stopped at just expressing concern or acknowledging the casualties, but always with a preface of declaration of support for Israel. And, are we being told that it is wrong to kill a family, an entire family at gunpoint, but it's okay to shell them to death? I mean, there is a glaring double standard here. And it is just shocking to the Arab world. The silence is deafening, and to many in our region, it makes the Western world complicit, through their support and through the cover that they give Israel, that it is just its right to defend itself. Many in the Arab world are looking at the Western world as not just tolerating this, but as aiding and abetting it. And this is just horrendous, and it's deeply, deeply disappointing to all of us.
This is the greatest gaslighting, victim blaming in history. And I want to go back a little bit in terms of Queen Rania. Jordan is holding these so-called Palestinian Arabs as second-class citizens in refugee camps for dozens of years.
That's right.
Who is she to talk about civil rights? First, they took our slave name, okay? Jews were named Palestinian by the Roman occupier. We were named it after our enemies in the biblical times, the Philistines. They took our slave name. Then they told us that Jews are not from Judea. If Jews are not from Judea, I don't know where we're from. Then they're telling us our mere presence, homes, families in Judea is a provocation for violence. And now they're telling us that when we came out of Gaza, they established their Islamic state of Gaza. We gave them a state that they're under our occupation, and therefore it justifies killing innocent Jews. This is Nazi talk. And I'm so grateful, I have to say, to be here on this couch, to have the moral clarity and to be on Fox News, because you are leading in the moral battle against this evil. We are dealing with pure evil right now.
We're honored to be here with you today, Brooke. Thank you for your voice. It's so important. Ari, what do you make of this?
Two things. One, on Queen Rania, let me remind her that when ISIS attacked and beheaded and burnt alive in cages Jordanians, it was King Abdullah of Jordan who said he personally was going to fly fighter jets in to bomb ISIS. So what about the hypocrisy then, Queen? As for the United Nations,
Right.
not only was he wrong about Israel, he's wrong about the history in the region. If you want to look at the big picture of peace, there's one central fact. Every nation that ever sought peace, every nation or people that ever sought to make peace with Israel, found in Israel a ready, willing, and able partner that made peace. Egypt reached out under Anwar Sadat to make peace. Peace was made. Jordan, under King Hussein, reached out to make peace with Israel. Peace was made. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Saudi Arabia on the verge. You know why peace hasn't come to the Middle East? Because the Palestinians don't have a leader who was willing to engage with Israel to engage in peace. If they did, peace would have been made, just as it was with Egypt and Jordan and everyone else.
There's no such thing as a Palestinian peace movement. Where are all the pro-democracy rallies? Where are all the rallies against Hamas? They don't exist.
And Kaylee, you know, for those that argue about misrepresentation or representation or intimation of the comments of the Secretary General, the facts do not lie, which is that the United Nations over and over again has actually condemned and found violations by Israel in human rights, and yet has been mute the entire time since its inception on all of the atrocities and all of the human rights violations committed against Israel. They are stunning in their anti-Semitism.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways, Mr. UN Secretary General. You can't in one moment say, I don't authorize violence against Israelis, and then in the next moment say, this did not happen in a vacuum. Now, what's this? Babies being burned alive, a pregnant woman being sliced open, her baby on the ground next to her being shot. Do not tell me this did not happen in a vacuum. This is terrorism for which there is no justifying. We put up the faces often. There you see Kafir, the baby who was named Ariel, Raz, Aviv. These are the names that the Israeli ambassador was referencing in response to the UN Secretary General. And you ask yourself, just quickly here, how did the Holocaust happen?
Thank
It's
you.
confounding to many how this could have happened to the Jewish people. Well, it happens when you have international bodies like the UN making excuses, when you have nations, leaders making excuses. That is when a Holocaust happens, and it can happen again if we don't exhibit moral certainty and clarity, as we've heard from Brooke.
So I'm sitting between two White House press secretaries, and I will say this loud and boldly. Replace Corinne Jean-Pierre. She's not representing this nation right. And she's not representing the people that we as a nation put in the White House correctly. Because I'll tell you what, either one of you would have responded to what the UN Secretary General had said. It would have been part of your remarks. That can't and it's on U.S. soil that he's saying this. That can't happen. Look, we sat out so late in World War II, didn't get in until the Japanese hit Pearl Harbor. We sat out late and millions of Jews died in between the time that we were being, kind of, well, we want to be separate from the world. That's a foreign war. It doesn't, as long as we make ourselves defensively strong at home, we don't need to get involved. But we did. And we do now. And we stand with you. You are not alone.
Thank you.
We particularly stand with you